Mic 12.
I can start, right?
Yes, you may.
Hi, my name is Christina. Today I will be talking about athletes, but I'm going to narrow down my topic to football players. And my main claim today is that football players are not overpaid. My three main claims are that, well, first I'm going to be talking about the wide market available in sports, the excessive training, dieting, and hours put in to perform at a certain level, and then the amount of money the NFL generates each year. So, the wide market in sports, advertisers are easily drawn to the sports industry, enabling the teams or individual players to make more money. According to San Diego State University, the halo effect is a belief that when the general population sees a product used by a celebrity, which an athlete is considered kind of like a celebrity, they will be more inclined to buy the same product as their role model. Advertisers pay large amounts of money to athletes/teams to market their products. Big advertisement companies showcase an athlete and their abilities and dedication to the sport in order to get more recognition and views. So, and when they use the player, they pay them large amounts of money. My second claim, which is again the excessive training, dieting, and hours put in to perform great in football. So, each player puts in about 7 hours of practice each day of the week, Monday through Friday. And that isn't even considering the time that they put outside. So that's just what the team has them do. 43% of NFL players get seriously injured throughout their career on the field, or like during the game or practice. According to www.nfl.com, they state that about 21% of the NFL's concussions were reported from last season. So there's a lot of players that get concussions, but they don't even know. They're not even reported or recorded at all. So that's only 21% that's actually been taken down. According to the Associated Press, 154 concussions that happened in practice or during games were reported from the start of the preseason through week 8. So that's only half the season because there's 17 weeks. So during the 2012-2013 season, there were more than 160 players with a head injury during the start of preseason. So, now I'm going to be going to the topic of the amount of money the NFL generates each year. So the NFL generates just over $6 billion a year. The average salary for a football player is $1.9 million. And a lot of us have this image in our mind like, oh yeah, they get paid, millions and millions of dollars each year, but in reality, the average player gets 1.9 million, and that isn't even per year. They sign contracts, either a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract, and that 1.9 million is divided within those years. So an average player coming in from college, if they're just an average player, not even like RG3 or Cam Newton, is getting like about $340,000 a year. So it's not all glamorous. So each, well, compared to like what we think they get, it's not like millions. Like, yeah, it's still good. So each NFL team has a total of 53 players. Therefore, each player in the NFL, which is a total from the NFC and AFC, has 1,696 players. So if you take $6 billion and divide it, between 1,696 players exact, because each team only has 93 players, that means that each player is receiving about 0.31% of what the entire NFL generates as a whole. So realistically, we're not even making 1%. We're making like just above 1/4 of a percentage of what the NFL really makes. So, in conclusion, in relation to what the average player's salary is and what the NFL generates as a whole, according to the numbers, the players are extremely underpaid in comparison to the revenue. And that'll be it.
This explains your attire.
Of course. I dressed up on my speed. I'm not underdressed. Really dressed.
I love that part, but not that lavish. It's like, I think there is $40,000. Yes.
I can edit you for that.
Yeah.
Smack you over the head with a bat.
All right, Christina, it's the proposition sounds like a value claim more than it does a claim of fact. And so you really need to explain what is the justification that you're arguing for here. I'm not exactly sure what the factual basis is. There's information about injuries. There's information about what the salary rates are. There's not any explanation about how the salary rates have any impact on injuries. Does it compensate them adequately? Does it protect them in case they can no longer play? The salaries then are justified in that context. You need to give us a standard for that. And that's the problem when you have a value argument, is that you also have to present a standard for that particular value and defend that. And I think that that's missing here. It's implied what the value is. That there's got to be some standard of fairness, or that the compensation has to be appropriate for the risks that they're taking. But that's, like I said, all in the substrat of the argument. Your proposition is phrased with a negative terminology in it, which makes it a little bit confusing. The contents of the speech are previewed, but it's similar to what we've had in some of the other presentations, where we're getting signposts, not secondary claims. And so I know what the topic areas that you're going to talk about are, but I don't know what the inferences are that you're going to make on those particular topic areas, and you need to have that be a little bit sharper. The evidence, you have an interesting way of presenting the evidence. Sometimes the example just pops in there. Sometimes there's a citation of a statistic, but then the interpretation of that statistic got a little bit confused. For instance, if the average salary is $1.9 million, is that the average contract? Say that. If it's the average salary, that's what they're getting paid a year, then your other information seems a little bit confusing. Also, the salary, you need to have some explanation about why it's important that that salary be at that particular level. I'm not sure what the advertising point has to do with any of this, except that there's a value argument that says that they get paid for those presentations, and they have an impact on sales. Here you're conflating the revenue that a player maybe generates in their personal endorsements with the revenue that they are paid for their performance on the field. Those are two different revenue streams, and I think that there might be an argument to be made that connects the two, but it's not very clear in this presentation. You also need to cite the sources of a lot of your information more consistently. Like I said, I thought you had some information about the number of hours that they practice, about the longevity in playing, the number of injuries that they have. I know that you had that information from some source, but it's not always cited in the presentation. And like I said, the explanation a couple of times kind of takes us off track from the point that you're trying to make. I think part of the problem here is that I made some suggestions on the outline that you didn't get until later in the process, and that would, I think we'd have fixed those problems, a lot of these problems, had you gotten that outline sooner. But that's the way the ball bounces sometimes.